It's 4 o'clock in Los Angeles. It's 6 o'clock in Chicago. And it's 7 p.m. in the Big Apple. Hello, everybody. I'm your host, Mad Dog DeCipio, joining, God help me, joining me once again this week. She's back. She's back. I tried to lock the studio door, but she got in. Amelia, the Pitbull Chapman, how are you?
Good. How are you?
Oh, man, I got to deal with you again tonight.
I got to deal with you again tonight.
I got some. Hey, the troops came in, okay? I got the troops pulled in from the West Coast tonight, okay? To help out old Papa Bear. All right? My buddy, my drinking buddy, Lacy J's with me tonight. Yes, indeed. This is What's the Buzz Popcast, America's Popcast. And thank you, ladies and gentlemen. 3 days ago, we hit 14,400,000 subscribers.
Yes.
That's for real. That's a real straight up number that we got the stats for. 14 million subscribers worldwide. I am thrilled. You don't even know how happy I am about that. And made up for last night. It sure the hell did. Lacy J Dalton is back with us. I want to tell you what, if you're going to do it upright. We got the queen herself. She is the queen, the current reigning, defending, unanimous queen of country music. My buddy, Lacy J Dalton. How the hell are you, girlfriend?
I am so glad. I'm so glad to be here, and everybody's looking so good. You guys look great. I am having a bad hair day. I just want to tell you right now, I'm having a bad hair day. I almost wore a cowboy hat.
Look, you couldn't look bad if you tried. Okay,
No.
let's just be honest about it. You couldn't look bad.
He's sucking up. He must
Let me
want
tell
something.
everybody
Oh, yeah.
a little bit about Lacy J Dalton. This is the woman. I want the world to know this woman called me a lunatic on the air.
Twice. Still.
And that was the greatest compliment anyone could ever pay me at the time. Now I'm a fat shit lunatic. Let's get it right. Lacy J Dalton is best known for her gritty, powerful vocals, keen sense of storytelling, and holding a listener's attention with hypnotic lyric and intuitive musicality. Lacy had a number of hits, including that really good stuff. You got to listen to this stuff. Taking It Easy, Crazy Blue Eyes, one of my favorites, 16th Avenue. Her latest release for the Black Sheep, I'm sorry, we'll get the teeth working.
Now that was great.
Is an emotional.
That's going to be my next. That's going to be my next follow-up for the lap sheep.
I'm telling you,
That's it. For the lap sheep is a great title.
I want a writing credit for that. I want a writing credit for that.
I couldn't let it go by. For the lap
I've been waiting for a writing credit for years. Her latest release for the Black Sheep is an emotional journey into unexplored territory for Lacy J Dalton. The outlaw country legend delivers a deeply reflective collection of songs that pulsates a powerful message of unity, empathy, and universal kindness. More importantly, it gives the message to love thyself first. Ladies and gentlemen, my friend, the legend, Lacy J Dalton. How you doing, Anthony?
I just couldn't. My head is swelling, but thank you. What a beautiful introduction. Thank you.
Well, look, we have to do this right. Amelia?
Yes.
Let's do this right, okay?
Let's do it
Here
right.
There you go. It's enough of that. There we go. So
I needed this today. Look at this hair. It just decided to just die. And I just went, okay, great. We have a Zoom thing. And, we got to look like we did our hair with a leg beater.
Wonderful. You look wonderful. You couldn't look bad if you wanted to.
I know, right?
Wake up in the morning with this face and try to do something with this shit. Okay, come on. Okay, that's having a bad hair day. I want to get right into this because you heard me say that this album is different. It is a departure musically. It's a departure emotionally for you. I heard, and I learned. I want to tell you what. Forget about what I heard. Let me tell you what I learned, because I've been listening to music for a very, very long time, 65 years now. And I will say that I've heard people depart from their particular style, and veer away from it just to be different. Sometimes your audience wants something a little different. This was a surprise because I learned through this music who Lacy J Dalton is. More importantly, I learned who Jill is. That's important. And I want people to know that behind the showbiz personality, there's a real person that is nothing like Lacy J Dalton. And I want people.
Is that true? You think you really feel that?
I do. I feel it. I felt it. I heard it. And it came through loud and clear through your lyric. This is very different for you, Lace. Very, very different. It was when you can make Amelia the Pitbull Chapman cry.
Oh, Amelia.
You want to tell her that story, how you bawled your eyes out listening to For the Black Sheep?
And that was just the one song. I really, really cried on the other ones. I was like, oh, are you okay? I was like, yeah, I'm just listening to an album. It's okay.
Well, I thought for me, it was Devil by a Different Name for sure. A song that actually prompted a series of questioning tonight.
Mm-hmm.
We spoke about it before we went on the air, but An Outlaw After All. We're going to talk about the whole outlaw thing in music. And actually, we're doing a show just kind of as a tie-in. We're doing a show tomorrow night on outlaw wrestling promotions, what makes them different. And I want to talk to you about being an outlaw, because you've had this reputation. The word outlaw. Everything I read, Lace, says outlaw. Say, I want to see this sweet, wonderful woman who I know is an outlaw. Okay. I know you got a little badass in you, okay, because you're country.
It takes one to know one.
Where does a song like Devil by a Different Name or Heart of Hearts come from? Standing Knee Deep. Where do these songs come from?
Well, it's really funny. Do you know the songwriter Bobby Tomberlin?
I do.
He is a fabulous songwriter and an even more fabulous human being. He's just as real as they come. It's just a real deal. And he had just had that hit with Dolly and Bill Anderson called it's going to make sense one of these days.
Yeah.
That's probably not the title, but it's a really good song. One of these days, it's all going to make sense. A very deep writer. And a lot of the songs on this For the Black Sheep are basically for people who may have grown up in the churches and may have walked away because they saw so much hypocrisy and so much just not real stuff. The stuff that people we want to be Christians, we say we're Christians, but how many of us really walk that talk? How many of us even know? I wrote a song called Love Yourself. Mm-hmm. And when I first started singing it, people had no idea who I was talking about, because I talked about a long-haired rebel teacher from a long time ago from over in the Middle East somewhere where we're having all that trouble. Yeah. And I believe the town was called Bethlehem. And I had to introduce that song even on the record that way, because many, many of my Christian listeners did not know that Jesus' main basic teaching is love God with all your heart, mind, and spirit. Love yourself. Love your neighbor as yourself. That is the whole of the law. All the other laws of life are built upon it. And guess what? That's what I came to teach. So many of us don't remember that. The basic thing, if we call ourselves Christians, we're not walking that talk, and none of us do. It's a line to walk. But if we don't even know that that's the main teaching,
remarkable, isn't it?
No wonder kids are leaving the churches.
It's absolutely remarkable. I don't think it's an accident that I said and talking about this album, that one of the things that I felt from it, that I got from it, one of the things I heard you say was love thyself. And you heard me say it exactly as that. Love yourself. Love yourself. If you can't love yourself first, then how capable are you of loving anyone or anything else? It's got to start at home. Capiche?
You're absolutely right. And I think it's also the hardest part of that teaching.
It's extraordinarily difficult.
Yes, it is.
We are taught in our culture and many other cultures not to love ourselves.
Yeah.
Not to love ourselves. And we need not to do that. We need to teach our children how to love themselves. And what makes you love yourself is doing the right thing and taking care of business and walking your talk. If you can't walk your talk, you're not going to love yourself. If you're full of crap and you're lying all the time and you're saying you're going to do stuff and then you don't do it, you don't follow through. What is good is anything if you have intention, but you don't act on it.
Yeah.
So I think walking our talk is, I'm going to write a song about that because I think it's important. And it's not happening today. Some of our biggest, most important people on the television are not walking their talk. They're talking all this stuff, and it's not true. A lot of stuff is just horse crap. And we need to get away from that. We need to remember how to be real and be authentic and try to walk our talk. And it's not easy.
Yeah.
It's when they say, when you hear the old religious, it's a thin line. Well, it is.
Yeah. Well, I'll tell you what, when you're ready to write that song, I've got a great title for you. Call it Mad Dog on Mulholland Drive.
Or just Mulholland Drive, right?
Questions, Amelia, because I know you've been chomping to talk to Lacy J all day.
I know you interrupted me earlier, right? No, but I mean, there were some songs that really hit home too, because especially the song Standing Knee Deep, especially when the part was heart was so dry, I felt like I had a curse. I mean, as soon as I heard that, I was just bawling. Because
I felt that way. That's an honest thing that song was written. I'll tell you why I wrote it, Amelia. Mm-hmm. I had a vision of a kid in a 13-story walk-up old hotel in San Francisco, and he's in a grunge band, and he's making $50 a night. And the room has a cot with that blue ticking, and there's a light bulb hanging from the ceiling, just a light bulb. And it's not very warm because it can be very cold in San Francisco. And the kid is on drugs, and he's been doing drugs for a long time. He might be 17, he might be 19, he might be 21. Right. He's not very old. And he is sitting in that room with his guitar, and he's thinking that he might not want to keep going. He might want to stop.
Yeah.
He might not be able to stand this. He doesn't realize that he's poisoning his whole consciousness with drugs and alcohol and just the depressing situation that he appears to be in. And so I thought, the weird thing is that this song is not written in a way that would probably ever reach that kid. I wrote it just from my heart because I have had bouts of depression where I felt really, I don't think I would ever actually commit suicide, probably because in 10 other lifetimes I've done it, and you just have to come back and learn the same lessons all over again.
Yeah.
It's not an escape. And I don't think it would be, and it's terrible for the people around you. So I don't think I'd ever do it, but I have considered it.
Sure.
I have considered it. I felt so dry. My life felt so dry that I actually felt like that. And I think a lot of us get to that place.
Yeah.
I can relate to that. I absolutely can relate to that in very real terms. Lacy J, as you were telling that story, I had visions in my head of a few friends from days gone by who have met unfortunate ends in that regard. Young actors who never realized their Hollywood dreams. Actors who did realize their Hollywood dreams and realized it was more the nightmare than the dream. And I could tell you stories like this all night long. When you wrote that particular piece, or you were involved in that particular piece emotionally, did any semblance of celebrity rise up in that song? And if so, in what context?
Well, it had nothing to do with my celebrity at all. It had to do with thinking about, a lot of young rock and rollers who took their own lives. A lot of
That's where I'm going with that. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, and a celebrity is a rough thing for people, and particularly if you just are young and you think you should have already gotten where it was you thought you were going.
Boy.
And you're frustrated and you don't have any money, and if you're a musician, you never have to buy drugs. They give every place you go. Drug dealers are like butterfly collectors. Everywhere. They like to give musicians, young musicians and older musicians and stars, they love to give you drugs because they want to be part of success. They want to be part of something important. They want to be part of something bigger than they are. And which a lot of them really are like butterfly collectors. So you don't have to buy drugs. Drugs are given to you just like water, or somebody will buy you a drink constantly. And it's very hard for a young person who's unhappy or lonely on the road to resist those things, because you get tired. You're exhausted. I mean, you got to carry your own equipment in and out of places that are, with big steps, and you're treated pretty badly when you're just starting out. A lot of people think musicians are sort of the janitors or the hired help, and they don't have any respect for. A lot of people don't have respect for how many hours it takes to put in to learn to play an instrument and actually perform. So you don't feel appreciated. And I know that when a kid gets in that desperate space, I wish I'd written it in a more of a hip hop style or a grunge style or something that would reach those kids. I didn't. I wrote a country song because, and I'm sure there are young country stars who feel like this. I'm certain of it. And I'm certain that almost everybody has had a time when they're not realizing. When I say I'm standing knee deep in the river and dying of thirst, the blessings are all around us. The very fact that we even are, that we even exist, that we can even see the world, that we can feel, that we can taste and touch, the very thing, the very idea of just being is a pretty amazing thing in the face of eternity. It's a pretty amazing thing. And we forget, and spirit, I believe, is in everything that is, in all times and in all places.
You'll not get an argument here.
Right.
Absolutely
not. Because it got to the point where I was seeing myself around that water and that bridge and saying, "Why me? Why am I here? What have I done? I've had enough. Stop. And what am I doing?" And I felt like yelling at myself at that time when I was listening to the song. That was me like 2 months ago.
Oh, Amelia. Yeah. Well, I hope that song reached you in a way that's important.
It did. I was just bawling my eyes out at work, and everybody's like, "Are you okay?" I said, "Yes, it's just this song. It hit me hard."
Yeah.
And they were like, "You okay?" I said, "Yeah, I'll be fine."
The interesting thing is you could give me any number of your songs that are quote unquote country songs. I'm not going to have a hip hop song for you within hours. Literally within hours. I got any number. I got two guys right up the street that are like more hip than hip hop. These guys are like for real banging. And they're my age. They're in their 60s.
You know what? Music will keep you young. It just does. I mean, look at some of the great. I mean, look at Mick Jagger, for heaven's sake.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. B.B. King, Louis Armstrong. I mean, these were not kids.
Yeah, that's scary, man. Mick is scary.
Well, the spirit doesn't age. Our bodies deteriorate at an alarming rate at a certain point. But.
It's funny. My wife says to me last night, this is absolutely true. My wife says to me last night, "How would you feel about going to see Engelbert Humperdinck?" I said, "He's 86 years old. He's 86 years old. He's still performing.
Wow.
Just sold out crowds.
Wow.
Okay.
Wow. Does he still have that wonderful voice?
$200 a pop.
Wow.
This is crazy shit. Yeah, for real. Amelia.
Yes.
I stepped on your toes there. I'm gonna. I will yield the balance of my time before our commercial to you.
Yes, and the Outlaw song. I love what you have done with that song too, about with you going into that prison and teaching that program.
That was one of the most important things I've ever done in my life. It was the best job I've ever had. We went in, my musical partner, Dale Panay, and I started a program in the very, apparently a very notorious prison in Northern California called High Desert State Prison. Mm-hmm. I didn't find it to be so. I didn't find it to be so. We were teaching 20 to life inmates, and they hadn't had very many programs since the 80s.
Wow.
They were so grateful for the music program that we invented there, we started, that I stayed 3.5 years after we started it. And Dale, my partner, is still there. After 10 years, he's still teaching up there. I had a song in me that I had to get out, and an album I had to do called Scarecrow. And that song is about my divorce, which was a devastating thing for me after so many years. We were together 20 years. And he was my business manager and so on. But the song An Outlaw After All came from being up there, being around those men who were serving 20 to life. Some of them will be my friends for the rest of my life. Really good friends.
Oh, absolutely.
They're just people, and most of them, almost to a person, have had just a miserable start. They've been in poverty. They've had abusive parents. They were put in foster homes and abused repeatedly through the foster care. Yep. They just, the only role models they had were the drug dealer who had all the fancy clothes and the cars and the girls and the drugs. So that was their role model. The dads families would have in poverty 3 or 4 children. The husband became overwhelmed. He would leave, and the wife is stuck there with 4 kids. She's got to go to work, and those kids are on the street. Yeah. And that's how they end up doing stuff that they do. It's the only way they know to survive. But they get over it. They get rehabilitated. We should never keep people in prison as long as we do. It's the stupidest thing I have ever seen. Working in the prison system made me realize that people can be rehabilitated. They can change. They do change. And, I watched it happen. And we had a wonderful warden at our prison, and he watched it happen. And he gave us awards and did all kinds of stuff because he saw the changes in these people. He saw people really change. I remember one guy was a real badass, and the warden came down and he looked at this guy and he said, "I never thought I would see you in a music class." And we both just cracked up. It was wonderful. We did a whole musical. We did a play. The inmates wrote it and they performed it, and they wrote all the songs. And we played for the warden and a bunch of people there. But it was a most powerful time of my life, and it taught me. I think I was kind of hard-hearted about prison before I went to work in one. Raised by German people in Pennsylvania, you figure. I came from stern stock,
right?
And, and what I had to realize, what I am realizing through the writing of this song and talking about these songs on this record is that our country has become rather hard-hearted.
Yeah.
We will talk about that, Lacy J, and that's a great segue. Boy, is that a hell of a segue. We will continue that discussion right after this word from our sponsor at Manscaped.
Oh, I love it.
Do you have sweaty balls? Or volleyball netty balls? It's time to make them ready balls. The Manscaped.com Lawnmower 3.0 will do the job and clean your knob with its patented no-nick head, so your head will function as desired. Enter promo code Wrestling Future for a generous 20% discount. That's enter Wrestling Future for a 20% discount. Manscaped.com and Wrestling with the Future, going balls to the walls with Manscaped.com and the Lawnmower 3.0, your balls will thank you. And so will we. We are back with country legend Lacy J Dalton. She is a distinguished member of the Country Music Hall of Fame and every other Hall of Fame for that matter. You've got I'll tell you what, your name is in more music Hall of Fames, I think, than anybody I know. And I know a lot of people in the music business, a lot. You're all over the place. You really
but that, best mouse catcher award. I mean,
I want to talk about it because I'm fascinated by how many music Hall of Fames you're in. What criteria, because you must meet all of them, what criteria largely do they look for that gets you, first of all, nominated and secondly, inducted?
I really don't know.
Oh, really?
In fact, a lot of these awards that I have received have been a complete surprise to me. A really nice surprise, because a lot of times they'll come at a time when I'm in, there are peaks and valleys in this business, peaks and valleys. I remember hearing an older actress one time, I'm not sure who it was, but she said, in this business, you have to learn to endure. You must learn to endure. And I said, she's talking about? Well, now I know. You got to be able to, hit the high spots and suffer through the low points. And you got to keep going. And you have to, and sometimes you think, why am I doing this? Especially after you leave the big record companies and you're independent, it becomes very hard because everything is so expensive. I used to have a 10-piece band and a 10-piece crew. Well, I'm down to Leslie, my manager, and Dale, my accompanist, and myself, and if I'm really lucky, a great bass player. But
you're doing, Lacy J, what a lot of entertainers are doing. They're containing their shows to where it's a handful of people, very small circle. It is expensive. Record companies don't pay advances like they used to. I noticed that the last number of albums that you put out were all self-promoted, self-produced, self-financed, which is great because you've got full creative control. Nobody tells you what to do, and that's worth the price of admission right there.
That is absolutely worth it. It is absolutely worth it. You're not rich anymore, maybe. Now, I'll tell you what, John Prine, and I like to tell this story because young people listening will say, how do I do this independent thing? Well, I'm not sure I know. I'm just kind of doing it as, do this, do that. Some mashed potatoes might stick somewhere.
It doesn't hurt to have Leslie on your side, that's for sure.
Well, I'll tell you what, it doesn't hurt to have somebody like Leslie ever. She has really been she's a great gift to me. I'm so grateful for her being in my life. She has really helped me immensely. And you need someone like that on your side. But John Prine had a system. And when John first started making independent records, he put a little card on, you could do it electronically these days, put a little card on the table. And it said, please leave your phone number or your email if you want to get my next record. Well, he collected 100,000 of those little cards. Wow. Or you could do it with your phone. Somebody could, you could get them at that place. They could leave their email or their phone number, whatever they want. And he collected 100,000 of those names. And then when he sent out a record, he would sell 100,000 records without the help of anybody. No record company, nobody interfering. And John Prine got to say exactly what he wanted to say for the rest of his life. That's freedom. And it's
I will tell you that I was on vacation recently, and I saw a number of people performing while I was on vacation. The resort where my wife and I stayed had daily live entertainment, and almost exclusively, Lacy J, they were young men with guitars and one woman. But almost every day it was a young guy with a guitar. Well, I had one of those gentlemen, the best of the crew that I saw. I had him on the show a couple of weeks ago. He's one of those guys that does and did exactly what you're describing. Self-promote, sells his own CDs, pays to have them printed up. You know, all the the fine tuning that he has to do with his mailing list and all this. It's a lot of work involved, but again, you are your own boss. You're responsible. The buck stops here. After his appearance on the show, he got a phone call to me, and first he got an email to me, then he got a phone call to me. Finally, we arranged for him to call. He called, and it's just I felt like the greatest thing since sliced bread. He said, I had to let you know that my appearance on your show set off in a chain of events that I'm booked now for the next 6 months.
Oh,
fantastic.
How wonderful. What is this? Do we remember this person's name?
And his name is Doug Cates.
Well, Doug, good on you. I'm thrilled to hear that people are doing this, because a record company, I could never have made for the Black Sheep with a record company. Never.
Right.
The stuff that I have on this album, they don't want to hear it. That's not what they want. They want catchy hit songs for the radio. They don't want any kind of philosophy. If you can squeeze it in now and again, but
let me tell you what. Can I tell you what sells, Lacy J Dalton? Let me tell you what sells. What sells is saying the MF word in a rap song. What sells is saying the N word in a rap song. What sells is stuff that how these people kiss their mama with that mouth is just beyond me. But that's what sells. It's bullshit.
Yeah,
bullshit
it is.
Sells.
Absolutely.
Well, I think it always has.
How grateful I am. You don't know how grateful I am that you're not with a big label any longer. Thank God.
Mm-hmm.
I'm thrilled that you're an independent artist. You have your choice of your music. You can play wherever you feel like playing. If you need a couple of bucks, you go on the road for a couple of days. Then you come back, and Leslie will take care of your money for you.
She really does. She was a banker, so when she handles my money, I know it's in good hands.
We have somebody that wants to thank Lacy in the chat as well.
Say that again, please.
We have somebody that wants to thank Lacy in the chat as well.
Oh, Alistair Cross. Here, I'll put this up here for you.
Yes.
I'm loving this chat. I've been volunteering in the prison system for the last 2 years, and the miracles I've seen are off the charts. Thank you, Lacy, for tackling this topic and for shedding a new, honest light on it. And thank you, Mad Dog and Amelia. Oh, you're quite welcome, Alistair. Yes, thank you for the great shows and guests. You're quite welcome. By the way, yes. I know Amelia, on the interest of full disclosure, Amelia and I know who this gentleman is. Yes. He is one of the most prolific writers you'll ever buy. His name is Alistair Cross, and I've got 7 of his books here. The smallest book is 600 pages.
Well, what does he write? What does he write about?
He writes horror and gothic.
Vampire.
Oh, I probably really love it. I probably really love it. I'm going to have to look him up. Alistair, I'm going to read your books.
Yes.
I'll send you some. They're amazing books. Amelia.
Yes.
Send Lacy some of your books. I'm keeping mine.
No. We'll get them. You know what? I never do. When I like somebody's work and they're an artist, I always buy it.
Absolutely.
Because when you're an independent artist, I give a lot of stuff away.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm glad to do that, but I don't expect anybody to do that. If I want something, then if I'm that interested, then I want to support the artist who's doing it, particularly if they're independent or self-published.
Oh, sure.
His work is
in the interest of
thank you. And Amelia, you don't have to give me your books.
In the interest of full disclosure, though, we do get quite a few freebies around here. We're always getting free stuff from guests. It'll be 2 or 3 years before I finish Alistair's books.
I've already finished them. I'm ready for the next one.
Wow. Oh, are they good, Amelia?
They are wonderful.
They really are.
Are they romantic? Are they romantic?
Yeah. Some of them are very romantic. It's called Vampire, a Chrism Cove. Yeah.
The Vampires of Crimson
Cove.
Like
those
amazing series.
Yes.
I think it's a 4. Amelia, correct me, please. It's a 4-book series.
7 now, I think.
Leslie's ordering it at this moment. She is ordering it for me at this moment. Use points. We have points.
Yeah.
I'll save your money. I'll send you the books. I got them here.
No. You need to read them. I mean,
you need to read them.
I read them. I got.
You don't know how many books I have.
I've got more books here. Oh my God!
Yes, right.
Feels like a metaphysician, doesn't he?
Always sending us books. Let's. Lacy.
Are you a vampire? You could be a vampire yourself. Your name like Alistair Cross. Hello. My name is Alistair Cross.
She's in love with you, Alistair. I'll let you out of the basement so you could talk to her. Okay?
Oh, you don't have him in the basement, do you?
Yeah, we have a joke about that with me and him and the key.
Before we went on the air, when you and I had a moment to speak privately, we talked about. I shared with you my knowledge of Conway Twitty. I know his son and his daughter Kathy and his son Michael. And Michael, to his credit, knows his father's history quite well, and that the Conway Twitty was an outlaw recording artist, an outlaw country recording artist. You and I spoke briefly about the term outlaw. Everything I read about you, it says the outlaw legend, the iconic outlaw entertainer, all this outlaw stuff. Okay. How did that handle fit you, and where did it fit you, and why? You're such a sweet, demure young lady. I'm sure you have a little badass in you. You are from Pennsylvania, by the way.
Leslie says you need to talk. She says you and she need to talk.
Let's talk over here.
But you know, to be serious, and
yeah.
My longest friend and I, Mary McFadden, wrote a song in 1978 called Crazy Blue Eyes. It was actually the original title was Letter Mama. Mm-hmm. And she was at my house in the mountains in Santa Cruz, California, and recovering from a divorce. And I went downstairs and I put on a pot of coffee and I started to write this song. And I knew Mary was in the perfect place to write this song because the first line was, "Mama, I always love losers." Mama, I never will change. Anyway, so I took a broomstick and pounded it on the bottom of the loft where she was sleeping, and she came downstairs and I said, "You got to help me write this song because we are, you're in the perfect space to write this." So we wrote this song, and it was quite a different attitude. Women in country music had not stepped out very much into women's lib. Now that wasn't exactly true of some of the greatest ones. Yeah. Because some of them, there was The Pill and, there's some stuff like that was pretty women's libby. But Crazy Blue Eyes was a very different song, and it was kind of written in that old boom, 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 Texas kind of feel, Texas waltz kind of feel. And so when the record companies heard that, and we were offered on the strength of that song, we were offered record deals from every record company in Nashville. And even Mick Jagger wanted to sign me to his record company at that time. And I often wondered what would have happened if I'd gone that way. God only knows. But
I could see you with purple and blue hair, baby. Let me tell you.
Well, anything would be an improvement. Today I'm ready to shave my head. But the bottom line is, because of that song, on the strength of that song, I was signed as an outlaw artist. And what was happening and what brought me, I was raised in a country music family, but I strayed from it because when I started writing in my own stuff and listening to other music than what I grew up with, I was listening to Bob Dylan and Joan Baez and Janis Joplin and Mick Jagger and, a lot of different things that those different styles affected the music, and they affected the way I was writing lyrics. They affected everything. And it was a little outside the box for that time in country music. And so I was signed as an outlaw artist, which worked to my total benefit because what brought me back to country music was Waylon and Willie and the boys, and I got to tour for long periods of time with Willie Nelson and Merle Haggard and Hank Williams Jr. and even got to play the wife of David Allan Coe in a movie, which I'm telling you what, that's outlaw. If those David Allan Coe.
There's another young lady that's been kind of like lumped into that outlaw category. I haven't been trying to get her on the show. Tanya Tucker.
Oh my God, you'll have a ball with her. Get her on the show.
I'll talk to you about when we get off the air. I'll talk to you about that real quick.
I love Tanya, and I always do.
Yeah, she might kind of. I think she'll like the kind of show we do.
Oh my God, she's gonna love you. You'll love her.
But that. See, when I think of like outlaw and rebel, people like Tanya come to mind, yourself, Gretchen Wilson, people like that. The badass country chick is almost non-existent anymore. What happened to them? It's a boys' club all of a sudden, once again.
Once again, it is. I just found out that 1 out of 10. So we were over that for a while with Shania Twain. Of course, you have to take into consideration Taylor Swift, because Taylor Swift is like the biggest thing in show business in the world. Well, and I'm telling you what, she is not an outlaw. She is the sweetest thing that ever walked. That one.
Yeah, I don't know about that Taylor thing. My loyalties are so split when it comes to Taylor.
Oh, she's a doll. Are you kidding? She gives $100,000 to every food bank, every place she plays, and she treats her.
Oh no, that's all well and good. I'm talking about her musically. What she does as a person, I could give two shits.
Well, I couldn't name one of her songs, but as a human being, I think she's extraordinarily fine person.
Oh, and I'm sure she gives a great deal of money and generously donates her time, and I have no doubt about that whatsoever. Musically. Again, like you, I couldn't tell you what she's known for musically. I call her country. I wouldn't call her country.
But she sure started that way. That's where she started.
Yeah, she started in country.
Yeah, she started out as a young lady with a guitar.
Yep.
Right?
Yeah.
That was it. Her and the guitar on a stage. That was it. Now she's got this, multi-million-dollar production number that, takes 73,000 trucks to ship from city to city.
But I mean, it's wonderful that a woman is doing that.
I'm thrilled for her. But musically, I can't listen to anything she does because I don't know what she does.
Well, I just haven't listened.
You know what it is really more than anything? For me, I can't emotionally invest myself in her music. I can because your music is emotional. Your music is guttural. It's from the heart. It's your music is you. It's a reflection of who Lacy J Dalton Jill is. But I know who Lacy J Dalton is. I don't know who Taylor Swift is.
Yet.
You know what I mean?
Yet. I've been doing it 50 years. She's been doing it when I met her, and I have to tell you, her energy is, she has the sweetest, kindest aura of any person I think I have ever met.
Mm-hmm.
And that is saying something, because I've met some pretty wonderful people, and so have you, I'm sure.
Mm-hmm.
But I'm not sure it's about the music as much as it's her, the energy that she has around her, which feels like a lot of light to me, a lot of light. That is my opinion. That's all I can tell you about her. But the tremendous success. But in normal country, the normal country field, we're back to 1 out of every 10 songs is a woman.
Yeah.
And what is that about? I mean, I love listening to men sing. It's my favorite thing. Mm-hmm. But I also like to hear women sing. And And I think we all do. And I wonder how it's become a good old boys club again. And I don't really like that. I think
I don't know. I was hoping that you would have some insight on it. It seems like, and maybe it's my perception of it, or maybe I'm just jaded as to what music is now. But it seems to me that in music, particularly in popular music, things become secular. They go in spurts. You'll get a run of great women, and then it'll stop.
Yeah.
And then the boys club will pick up again. And then you'll get like another handful of women, and then it'll stop. But with each cycle, it seems to me, Lacy J Dalton, that it gets smaller and smaller and smaller. Is it my perception, or is that the case?
I don't really know. I don't know the answer to that question.
Mia, you listen to a lot of music. What's your take on all of this?
Well, yeah, it's getting smaller, but I know that a lot of women are trying to sign up. Like Lainey Wilson, she's another bigger artist that's coming out more and more, and she's trying to sell out shows. And sadly, is her and Jelly Roll are competing against each other.
Well, they should tour together and knock everybody out.
Exactly. Right?
Yeah, but when you got a guy like Jelly Roll that's just filling stadiums with 70, 80,000 people, that's a hard competition.
It is hard competition, and that's what she's struggling
hard pressed for anybody to compete with that.
Yes.
Well, why compete when you could
just do it yourself?
Cooperate, sell out,
and that's
a stadium every week or something. I mean,
that's a great segue. Why compete?
Yeah.
Why compete? Well, two reasons. Number one, competition breeds great material. Number one. Number two, without the competition, you're limited to whoever you get. I'm grateful that Lacy J Dalton had competition in her time, because she rose above and beat the shit out of everybody. She's still standing, by God. On the other hand, there are people trying to be the next Lacy J Dalton, or the next Patsy Cline, or the next whomever. First of all, good luck. It ain't going to happen, because the audience isn't there anymore. The audience for that isn't there anymore. You're very, very fortunate, and I want to ask you how you do it. You're very fortunate. You've got a loyal following. Your audience shows up when you go to Minnesota or Iowa or Chicago or wherever the hell you go. Your audience shows up for you. Recently, Jennifer Lopez, a pretty big name in entertainment and in music, showed up at her gig in a 25,000 seat arena, and 7,000 people showed up. The place was empty. You could hear the echo.
Well, that happens. George Strait and I once played a show in Reno to 6 people. We both did our entire show.
Wow.
Did you really?
A lot of it depends.
You did your whole set for 6 people?
We both did. George Strait and I both played our whole set. It was a show put on by the Hells Angels, and apparently they were busy doing something else. But we had it's a funny story. I mean, when you look back on it, it was horrible but that's when I learned. I learned early on. It doesn't matter how many people are there. It's the people that Spirit wants to be there. However many or few there are, it's very hard to walk out on a stage, especially if you're playing smaller venues as I do now, and you don't have a full house. It can be very hard psychologically, but you have to get over yourself. You have to go, hey, everybody did whatever they could. And, it might be raining. It might be football night. It might be, something might be going on. You don't know what's happening. And so you still do that show that you're going to do. And sometimes, oddly, those are the best shows you ever do. I don't know why that is. Because it's so intimate. Like sometimes if there are only, 100 people there, or 80 people or 75 people there, it's depressing because you should have had 150 or 200 people in this small venue.
Oh, God, sure.
You would hope that you'd be able to fill it, but you can't always do that, and you can't always do it with big venues like 25,000 seats. You just can't do it. But it is disheartening, and you got to learn how to step over that and do your best show.
Lacy J Dalton, we are up against our final break of the night. We will be back in 1 minute and 1 second. Take it.
Jess wanted to start a business when something surprising happened.
Today I'm going to teach you how to crochet.
She started crocheting, like a lot. And her friends noticed.
Jess, you need to sell those.
So she signed up for Shopify and started building her business.
Yes, I love that.
And after a lot of hard work, this happened.
Oh my gosh, I just made my first sale!
You see, every day, hundreds of businesses get their first sale on Shopify.
We got ding!
And the next could be you. So when you're ready to bring your idea to life
And become your own boss.
build it on Shopify.
And we are back with What's the Buzz, America's Best Podcast. I'm Mad Dog DeCipio. She's Pitbull Chapman, and this is my friend Lacy J Dalton. Young lady, we love having you here. I'd like to make you a regular part of the show, but Leslie won't let me. Let's talk about what
She says, I have a life. I have a life.
Thank you, Leslie, for letting her come on.
I know, right? So let's
Have you
talk
seen
about
Leslie?
No.
You want to see Leslie?
No, we
Yes.
don't.
Leslie, come behind me and just wave.
Just say hi real quick,
This
Leslie.
is Leslie.
Hi, Leslie.
Hi,
Hey,
Leslie.
everybody, how are you?
Since
how
our
are
names
you?
are awesome, lady.
like
You
ours,
rock.
Leslie,
I love Leslie. She's the bomb. She's the bomb. Diggity.
She is absolutely the best.
I'm telling you what.
Not
So
everybody
let's
can
talk
say that
about
about
what's
their manager.
next for you. What happens next for you? Where do you go? What do you do?
We have a whole list of stuff. We're going to start in Las Vegas, and then we're going down to Arizona for a few gigs, and then we come back and we start to go out to the Wild West. We're west of them where I live here in the mountains near Virginia City, Nevada. But we're going back to we're going to Cody, Wyoming, and Cheyenne, Wyoming, and Gray Bull, and Billings, Montana, and then we come back to California, to Sutter Creek, California, and Yerington, Nevada, and the Red Dog Saloon in Virginia City, and we do our Christmas shows in December.
wow.
And in January we're doing I forgot to mention.
Lacy, have you ever played the bikers rally up in Sturgis?
You know, I think years ago with Phoebe Snow, I think I did play it years and years ago. I know all about it.
I was going to say, because that seems to me, boy, that's right up your alley, man.
Well,
I would love to see you play Sturgis.
This new material is not so much like that. But when I was opening for Hank Jr., I had a big Southern rock band, and we did real outlaw Southern rock and roll.
Right.
And now that with the new CD is a little more concert-y, small venue-y stuff, because you need to hear the lyrics. The lyrics are very important with this particular new project. I was very careful with the lyrics, and a lot of subjects that I tackled were a little delicate. And so I wanted to write them so that I didn't offend people, but I also said, we need to look at this. Like, especially on Devil by a Different Name. Call me gay boys, call me straight. Must we stare across this chasm filled with hate? If they say we're wrong, we should be ashamed. That's the devil.
Right.
That's not walking that talk. That's not loving God with all your heart, mind, and spirit, loving yourself and loving your neighbor as yourself. That's the whole of the law. It doesn't say anything about gay, straight, or trans. I have something I want to say that's very important to me right now. The hydrocarbons in the air are causing a lot of free estrogens and a lot of free androgens in the air. That is causing little girls to come into their estrus at 9 and 10 years old. What do you think it is doing to little boys? And I think rather than othering these people who are trans and bi and whatever they are, we need to understand a little bit more about what's going on chemically on this planet. And we need not to judge these people. We need to stop doing that. You know, we need to find out why people are feeling the way they're feeling. It's really important that we look into these things, and we're not. We just judge and hate, and other people and the people. Other people
I have
and I just hate.
actually done, and that issue, and I echo this for Amelia as well. Because we have tackled this issue on our show, and I think I speak for Amelia when I say we could probably give you at least a preliminary answer as to why this is happening. I think it's the fact that it's being shoved down people's throats and pushed in their faces. And I think that people now have a profound sense of resentment that they're being fed to deal with something that they are uncomfortable dealing with. You can either bury your head in the sand and pretend it doesn't exist, or you can, grab your balls by the hands over here. And
speaking of balls,
our Manscaped is my sponsor too, by the way.
We approve,
and you can.
She approves.
But seriously though, you can pretend it doesn't exist, or you can face it head on and have the cojones to deal with it.
Or look into the reasons, look into it. And instead of othering people and judging people, I do think there is an aspect of people pushing stuff down. People
Here's what I've not heard.
Ready to hear it. I think that's a problem. And I think but we need to be educated. We need to know why people are feeling the way they're feeling, why they're having these feelings in the first place. Not
and
just
I tell you what the biggest, I think you just put your finger on part of it. Part of the biggest problem is nobody wants to talk about it intellectually, intelligently. You throw name calling back and forth. That's not talking. That's disparaging. Let's have a conversation. Let's talk. If someone truly believes that they're in the wrong body and it makes them feel better to live a certain way, I'm not going to judge. I'm not. That's not who I am. But if you're going to do it because everybody else is, then I got a problem with that. I got a big fucking problem with that.
I'm right there with you. I agree completely. I agree.
I got a big problem with that. And we addressed that on our show.
We need to think outside the box, and we need to remember, particularly those of us who think we're Christians, we need to remember, love God, whatever that higher power is to you, with all your heart, mind, and spirit. Love yourself and love your neighbor as yourself. There's nothing in that statement, which is the whole of the law, about bi, trans, gay, or purple ponies. There's nothing in there about that.
Exactly.
Live and let live. Mind your own business. Learn how to listen to other people. Learn how to hear what the other side is saying. Listen to them. Don't just hear it. Listen. Try to learn. Try to understand. There are things we are never, ever, ever, ever going to agree on in this world. There are things that you and I probably have that we'll just never agree on. But we need to learn how to disagree, agree to disagree.
Oh, absolutely.
Common middle compromise.
That's what this show is all about. And I pride myself, and I know pride is a kind of strange thing to say, but I pride myself on the fact that this show gives everyone an equal format and platform in which to speak freely. I don't agree with every guest that comes on it. There are a number of people I vehemently disagree with, but I'll never disparage them on the air. I will not do it publicly. I will not do it privately. That's not what this show is all about. It's never been what it's all about. And that's why over 14 million subscribers and more every day, thank you, God, are joining us, and I'm on the verge of getting an agent. That's a scary thought. But I want to show you something, Lacy. I saw this and I thought of you when I bought it. It says, I love Jesus, but I cuss a little.
A little?
A little. I wrote a song once with Billy Graham, who was Glenn Campbell's band leader.
I bought this at Hobby Lobby.
Oh, yeah. Well, I don't think, believing in a higher power makes you necessarily a good person. But at least you're aiming in a direction. You're aiming yourself in a direction. You're asking for a little help, which we all need.
You were starting to say something about Glenn Campbell. I heard Glenn Campbell. My ears
we wrote a song called for a movie called "Take This Job and Shove It," where I played David Allen Coe's.
Oh my God! Sure, iconic song. Sure.
Well, we wrote a song. Billy Graham and I wrote a song called "Beer Drinking Christian."
There you go.
And at the time, I drank beer, and it was perfect. I think Bobby Bear got to sing it on the.
Well, people got to remember something too. Jesus came not for the saved, but the unsaved. Jesus hung around with winos and hookers and pimps, and he hung around with the scourge of the earth. But that's why he came here, to take that and make it better. Jesus likes this
was
wine.
An outlaw after all. Jesus was an outlaw after all.
I'm telling you what, boy.
And some people will say, no, Jesus wasn't an outlaw, but he was an outlaw.
He died an outlaw too.
Absolutely, he was an outlaw.
He was an outlaw because the Jewish hierarchy was the law of the land. Of course, the Romans had the higher.
I got a T-shirt upstairs that says Jesus was a rebel rouser, and he sure the hell was too.
He was, and he still is.
That's your ass. He was, and still is. Yeah, still is.
Still is.
See, I think you do. I think you should run for senator for the state of Nevada. I think you should change your mind on that.
I've been asked a couple times to do that. Yeah. And I just know that anybody who is as lousy on the computer as I am would not survive or even be effective at all.
Yeah. Leslie tipped that hat. She said, "She's Lacy. She no good with technology." Listen, young lady, I will tell you what.
We do it all the
time. Up against the clock. I love you. I really do. I adore having you here. It's always. I wish I had another hour to give you, man. Well,
are you sure?
Show, though, hang around with me for like 1 minute after the show. I want to give you some info. Amelia.
Yes.
Another one's in the books, kid.
Yes.
Another one is in the books. Tomorrow night, continuing our outlaw theme, folks. A look inside the world of outlaw pro wrestling with our friend, our wrestling expert, the Doctor, Doc Diamond, will be here. But on behalf of Amelia, the Pitbull Chapman, I'm Mad Dog Scipio saying good night to Lacy J Dalton and my friend Leslie. I will see you guys in about 30 seconds. Take care, folks, till we see you again. God bless you. Peace. We're out of here. Good night. Bye-bye. Amelia?
Yes.
Let's go home.
Let's go home.